Welcome to Life with Java. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and leave me a comment. Today's vacation video is my favorite place that we went. The old Sturbridge Village is the largest outdoor history museum in the Northeast. It depicts a rural New England town of the 1830s. The village is designed to approximate the look and feel of a historic landscape and includes more than 40 historic buildings, such as houses, working farms, meeting houses, a district school, country store, water powered mills, professional and trade shops, all situated along the Quinnebog River on the homeland of the Nimpuk peoples. Old Sturbridge Village celebrates the people who lived in rural New England in the formative first decades of our new nation, the United States of America. The village provides an authentic first-hand look at the often changing and rapidly changing textures and rhythms of New England life in what were transformative years, 1790 to 1840. Illustrating a period in America largely driven by agriculture, industry, family, and the seasons. The village invites guests to meet those who face the trials and triumphs of everyday life and work together to survive and prosper in the rural New England towns and countryside they called home. Unlike traditional history museums, Old Sturbridge Village encourages guests to put their hands on history, to see, hear, feel, smell, taste, experience, and fully immerse themselves in our nation's past. From individual interactions with expert costumed historians, farmers, artisans, and performers to trying their hands at farming, trades, and domestic chores, guests make their own history at the village every day. Through storytelling, theatrical experiences, hands on demonstrations, and participatory learning, young and old alike are inspired by the early republic. The village uses its historic buildings and landscapes, expansive collections, and programs in agriculture, horticulture, households, and trades to produce innovative, immersive, and engaging exhibitions, interpretation, educational offerings, and public events. The 200-acre campus also provides guests with endless opportunities to enjoy the cycle of the seasons. From nature trails and engaging play spaces to the Quinnebog River and the gardens, farms, and fields, the grounds are a great place to meet up, relax, explore, or simply have fun in the great outdoors. Old Sturbridge Village officially opened to the public on June 8, 1946, with 81 visitors paying $1 apiece to tour the grounds and see displays of antiques arranged in the new and restored buildings. The Fitch House, Minor Grant Store, the Richardson House, the Grist Mill, and some other buildings were on site, but other buildings, like the Center Meeting House and Salem Townhouse, were not added until later. As the village grew, so did public interest in seeing history brought to life. The village welcomed its 1 millionth visitor in 1957, and since then, many more programs, exhibits, and special events have been added and refined in an effort to constantly improve the visitor experience. Through the decades, Sturbridge has grown well beyond just a collection of antiques. The living village has taken on a vibrant life of its own as a leader in the fields of museum education and living history interpretation. As you've seen in the pictures, we've already met a basket weaver, we've seen wildlife, a beautiful church inside and out with a graveyard next to it. We met some wonderful general store clerks who told us all about their products and things that people used in those days, what were new, what were old. We've seen a shoemaker who gave us an example of how to make boots. We've met a teacher who prided herself that 95% of students in the 1800s knew how to read. It was very important to their families that the children learn how to read their Bibles from a very young age. Then we saw a pottery maker who had made some amazing pottery that he fired up in his oven kiln. And as you could see, he was remodeling the bricks and restoring the bricks. He said he has to do that once a year. Now we're looking at a farmhouse. I loved touring this little house. There was some ladies in here baking some bread. The amount of flies in here kind of blew my mind, but I'm sure that's how it was back in the day, before they had all these fancy ways of keeping flies out, and they also had the windows open for a nice breeze. I loved seeing how the houses were decorated. Here's a view through the window, and you can see the barn of the farm outside, the kitchen or the parlor. I thought these cute little oxen were adorable. They were sitting next to a chair. There's the open fire outside, the wagon or the cart that would have been pulled by the animals, some more sheep. These look like the rams. In this little shed, there was a cow. I thought that was interesting. And of course, the hay loft in the barn and the chickens free roaming. There's one of the farmers who gave us, a lot of information about how life on the farm was. I loved passing all of these people in their costumes. They would not only dress the part, but they would act the part. And of course, they were all very friendly and had lots of wonderful information to give. The scenery out here was stunning. Now we were in the barrel shop. This is where a woodworker was making barrels. He showed us how he uses the forms and how he wets the wood to wrap them around the forms. He has to heat the wood, wet the wood, and then shape it into the barrels of various sizes. I really appreciate the fact that every worker or volunteer out here knew their part very, very well. They had all the information just as if they were really living in the 1800s. I saw these young ladies several times. They were very sweet. Now we are heading into the blacksmith shop. This was definitely Jackson's
I'm
favorite.
working on a ladle at the moment.
A ladle?
So like there's one down there on the bench, become the actual dish of the ladle. And so I'm trying to get that as consistent and flat and even as I can, and also as big and round as I can. And then I'll go back, scribe a circle, and then cut that circle out, and then dish it and put a bunch of holes in it.
We talked to this young man for quite a while. He was very interesting. He explained that ladles weren't used in a village at this time, like the village of Sturbridge, but that they were just starting to be made in other blacksmith shops, so he still likes to make them once in a while and show them here. He also showed us how he is just learning in this era of the 1800s to build items that have more than one piece put together to work together. He really enjoys working here and perfecting his craft and learning how to make all different things. Now we are in the cotton mill, I guess you would call it. There were three different types of cotton being made in here. Some of them were soft, some of them were rough. Here's an example of some that wasn't very nice to touch, actually, but it was definitely interesting to see and to learn about. And next up, we have a beautiful pond and then the watermill. I really wish the watermill had been spinning, but it wasn't. There's those sweet ladies again. They were working in the fields. I have always been fascinated with water wheels. Did anyone else watch Little House on the Prairie? I used to love watching the lumber that they would feed through with the water wheel and how it ran the saw and then it would ship the logs right on down the river. Y'all, look at this beautiful landscape. I wish the leaves were changing a little bit more to the fall colors, but it was still stunning out here. This water is so crystal clear. I'm always a sucker for bridges. Once again, we couldn't have asked for better weather. It was so nice the whole time we were in Boston. Hey, there I am going through the bridge. Do you see that little mushroom? Look at those little red leaves. Jackie was afraid we were going to find some poison ivy over here. And the pine cone. If that doesn't say fall, I don't know what does. This is the dining area. This used to be a saloon and it was decorated very cutely. Downstairs, there was a little cafe. I think it was a restaurant. You could get some food or just we just got some water and a snack. Now we're passing by the English Garden, I believe it was called. The flowers were beautiful, and even the benches and the little gazebo. There's the house that was with the beautiful yard. Next, we saw the bank. This was the general store. We went inside here and bought a couple of goodies. It was really just like being in a little village in the 1800s. Oh, my favorite here, the printing press. They were creating a little children's book today. Again, very proud that almost all children could read in the 1800s.
One would be in charge of the paper because we go through about 240 sheets an hour. We position it on this, which is called the tympan, and that centers it onto the forms here. This is called the frisket. That actually holds the paper down. And then we take the ink. Now the ink is modern ink we're using. If we were using ink from the time period, you'd have probably have tears running down your cheeks because it was being made of linseed oil, turpentine, and the pigmentation comes from what we call lamp black. It's soot from animal fat candles. Very toxic. So we spread it out, put these pages down, and move it on the platen, which is this right here. Now watch when I pull this. This is cast iron. This press is over 200 years old. This was manufactured by the coal company, HOE, in the Bronx in 1824. So when I pull this, watch the toggle, we call it, straighten out. And that simple action moved the cast iron platen down and created 1,000 pounds per square inch across this entire surface area. So when I lift it,
Well, there you go.
remember it was a blank sheet of paper.
Yeah. There it is. Yeah. Great.
Now to create a book, we have to print on both sides. So we didn't want any bleeding. We didn't get any bleeding. So we're going to let this dry now. Take about 18 hours. And then we'll be able to print on the other side. We use these drying racks for the printing, or for the drying. But again, that's even 3 people.
This was the little office in the printing press. I just love this kind of cabinetry. I wouldn't mind having that. And all your rows and your drawers of your typesets. What a neat place. I would have liked to work there. Now we're going through the museum that showed, how the military uniforms would have looked. A lot of old memorabilia, some flutes, some drums, some weapons. Of course, Jackson was really fascinated in here. Jackie was too. And here's my boy being silly. Always a silly guy. Some more beautiful flowers as we're coming back around towards the exit. That was the end of our day at Sturbridge Village. We were ready to move on to our next activity. Stay tuned for the next video, the last and final part of our vacation. Thank you for watching.